Anthropic just launched another model. It is numbered 5, but unfortunately it's not Fable 5. It is Sonnet 5. It's interesting to see what they've cooked up. We're going to take a look at lots and lots of tests. Looking at the benchmarks, it's kind of a little bit odd. In here, for example, Humanity's Last Exam is kind of costing more than Fable, and it seemed to be generating a lot of tokens, given the results that it gets. So I want to dig in with you guys and see how it really performs. The way we are doing these tests, and I'll show you in a second, is that we are looking at agent mode, and what it allows you to do on Arena is that it allows us to put in a prompt like this, then it can go on and do whatever it needs to do, and come up with these kinds of cool visualizations. And that could be one output. We can also create a bunch of different apps, and we're going to go through all of that. So there'll be a lot of tests that we'll look at. So this is Sagrada Familia generated by Sonnet. It's kind of, I like 3D tests, not because they're so important, but it kind of gives us a quick feel straight away how good it is. To me, this kind of looks a little bit messy and kind of things are flickering and it's overall not that impressive, but let me show you what I mean. So this is GPT 5.5 extra high, and if we compare it to this, like to me that looks a lot tidier, right? So this generation here and this generation here kind of a little looks more interesting to me, tidier. There's kind of more precision, I would say, as well. I've even got a comparison to Fable, which we cannot use, but this is a save test from a few weeks ago. And in here we have a lot more detail. We do have kind of floating houses there around the side, which is not that impressive, but you can see the windows here have more detail. We've got moving people around and so on, which we didn't necessarily get kind of as much dynamism with 5.5 extra high. So to me, that tells me, just puts it instantly in a bucket that it's not quite as impressive as those two at least. But let's keep looking. So again, we've got another prompt here. We've got Voxel style, this kind of game chariot race. And what we want here is we want good controls, which this doesn't have. Oh my God. It could be just me playing badly, but what a lot of these LLMs do, apart from this kind of bad rendering, is they also controls very difficult to navigate. But overall, like, it is sort of a playable game ish. If we compare to 5.5 extra high, I think this is much higher fidelity, right? And by the way, the Sonnet we have on high setting in here, which might be not super obvious, but you can see like how much higher the fidelity is of GPT 5.5. I've also got Fable, and in here, by the way, the control is also kind of not great. They kind of reverse them, so it's not the best controls. But like, I wouldn't say it's the best Fable generation, but it feels like quite a much more coherent kind of game. So let's keep looking. I want to show you, if we're going to do 3D, let's do it right. So I want to show you some of the really impressive generations. So maybe I want to take a look at this one, actually. So this is the White House, and not a lot of models actually end up doing a generation. And here again, we're seeing, and I think it's just because it's like a little bit too difficult for the models to do. It's quite a complicated prompt that you can see on here. It just takes, it provides a lot of detail. And that's what I want to do with these prompts. I really push the models as much as we can. So this is Sonnet. We've got, oh yeah, finally we've got the GLM in here. If I just find the HTML. Yeah, so the GML is an interesting model to compare to, because so Sonnet is more expensive than GLM. So we want to have Sonnet beat GLM for it to be competitive. But there might be a few cases when this is not happening. I would say here it is probably true. I mean, both are not great generations, but kind of this doesn't feel like anything, to be honest, at all. So yeah, so Sonnet, I would say, beats here, but let's keep looking. I've got some examples where it definitely is not the case. If we compare to 5.5 extra high, this is definitely much more detailed generation versus this. We've got, you wouldn't be necessarily even realize what it looks like, but in here they're kind of trees planted nicely, maybe some issues. I think it doesn't quite completely look realistic, but oh no, the Fable broke there, so I can't show you Fable. So I think 5.5 wins here. So let's have a look at a couple more. I think this was not a bad one from Sonnet. So in here again, we have a very complicated prompt in here, which really goes on for a little while. And what it managed to generate is actually pretty nice. So I think all of the models had issues with this kind of transparent thing, but there are floating islands and they're like reasonably coherent, although we're going to see they're not that well detailed. Let's see if this one worked. I think that got broke for 5.2. Again, the issues with transparency, but 5.5 did, I would say, better. That's more ambition here. It had more detail here. So I think that was definitely, again, better generation from 5.5. You might be, I think it's reasonable to say, like, is it fair to compare to 5.5 when we should really be maybe comparing to, like, I don't know, lower tier models? I think maybe we should be doing other kinds of comparisons, but I think it's good to ground us to see where we actually stand. So let me keep showing you a few other types of things. We do have a lot of tests, so I don't want to just keep showing you the same kind. So in here we've got a different one where we've got the Sonnet generating this kind of React website for a children's museum. So in here the tests are different. So what we want is this kind of high quality UI. In here it's kind of meant to be generating something that is a little bit outside of this kind of very normal website that you get. So in here we want this kind of science museum exhibit, which should be informative, should be fun, and so on. In here, first of all, apart from this kind of sloppy bracket designs, like which is not ideal, it is kind of a pleasant design, but it's not super impressive, right? At least things kind of hang together reasonably nicely, but I wouldn't say this to me doesn't look like a particularly like engaging website. If we look at Opus 4.8, which is, I think, kind of an interesting comparison as well. I think it came out, what was it, a month ago or so? But it is a higher tier model, so you'd expect more. I'm kind of not super impressed with this, right? The kind of elements not put together nicely. I think it did try to make it a bit more fun, but this, I'm not even sure what this is, like things kind of put together into one category. Like I almost like this better. It's not the best, but like this kind of little bit disappointing from Opus here, I would say. So let's see what JLM did. And this is where I think we're getting to the point that actually maybe JLM has generated something better than Sonnet or Opus. So remember before we kind of said, well, on 3D generations it wasn't that good, but if you look at the UI, it did really well on our web dev arena, which is really testing the front end. It really, I think it was second after Fable. And in here, like I can kind of see why. We definitely have some UI issues here, but this kind of playground is way more interesting than what Opus did here. And then I think this kind of font feels a little bit more fun, kind of put together. The UI elements are bigger and so on. So like open source model, cheaper, and seems to be, at least on this, like one or two little tests, like in terms of the UI. seems to be kind of better, I would say. Not completely amazing, but like pretty good. So the next one, kind of along these lines as well, is that we want to build a public website for city parade and street festival. So again, we want something fun, we want something engaging, we want something informative as well, show the route as well. So these are kind of elements that we want. To my eye, this kind of looks like something like maybe, I don't know, something like the kind of many UI elements in here. There's like a yellow dotted here, there's like pills here, there's elements here which don't feel like a very coherent design for me. The exploring of the route here is not very like engaging, like what just kind of things go in the corners, but like overall not a terrible design. Like this seems like pretty reasonable. If we look at Opus, so this is 4.8, we have, I mean, what do you think? It's kind of similar, right? We've got these kind of elements here as well, like, yeah, agenda here. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, maybe you tried a little bit harder with the route and like to show the actual map. So that's not bad, but it does have these sloped brackets. So like, yeah, not like massively impressed. But JLM, what do you guys think? Like, I think JLM wins here, like among those three examples, right? So we have this kind of, I would say, this section on top feels kind of more coherent to me, more engaging. It tried to do, I mean, it's not ideal. I mean, especially the flickering is not great, but I think it tried to do something a bit harder with showing the map and so on. And yeah, like this is pretty great. Like we'll see how it does in kind of not just with a few tests, but among other prompts. But I would totally expect JLM to win here versus the Sonnet on these kind of front-end tasks. Not particularly impressed. It certainly doesn't feel like a big leap versus, I mean, I'm not, to be fair, I'm not comparing to like the JLM, not comparing to Sonnet 4.6 here, but I think it's a maybe reasonable comparison to just compare how it does with Opus, for example. Given we kind of saw that the cost maybe is not quite a big advantage there. So here we've got data visualization task. And again, the two generations look quite similar to me. Maybe Opus is doing a bit nicer here in terms of this kind of extra gradation, extra shading, and so on. But they both kind of look similar to me. Another data visualization test where we've got the HTML of this kind of radar. I think that looks kind of okay to me. It's kind of hard to make things out as well. But Opus 4.8 is doing better here. So like maybe that's like a reasonable thing to expect, that we shouldn't necessarily see this kind of jumps in performance over 4.8, but at least it's good to have yourself grounded in terms of the kind of performance you should be expecting from Sonnet 5. It really looks like it's lower than Opus, which is kind of maybe okay, but not necessarily better than JLM either, which is kind of probably not okay, considering, you know, JLM is cheap, open source, and yeah, they probably have another version soon. So let's switch gears now to other kinds of tasks. So we had a look at 3D, we had a look at these kinds of maybe front-end websites, and I also want to have a look at this kind of knowledge work. So knowledge work is important because it really kind of combines different elements. We want the models to do research, which you can do on agent mode. We wanted to put together information, kind of synthesize information, and then present it well. So the task here is to do research in our models and help a business to understand what kind of models they should be using. So I'm gonna try and like read through this quickly and kind of give my first impressions. but it's going to be hard to do like a perfect job on this. Straight away, like this doesn't like, doesn't jump out at me as like a very clean set of recommendations. Like the AI model quality has converged on the top, 3 to 4 frontier providers. Like it's kind of, yeah, okay, not like super insightful here. Why decision matters right now, this kind of, I don't know, this doesn't tell me much. I guess some random numbers that they pulled, like it's okay. I wish like for tasks like this, like it should just not be building boxes with text in it. Like I want to see some charts. I want to see some analysis. Like here's like, yeah, sweep bench verified, like one random benchmark that it pulled. Approximate output cost per million tokens. GPT 5.4 Pro, like why? This is super random. 5.4 brackets flagships, like that's like completely wrong. I mean, the only relevant model here is like Gemini 3.1 Pro, just because they haven't released for a while. Yeah, it's like it's missing so much detail here that you want to have, like in terms of input out, even if just taking the pricing, right? We want the right models, we want input output, we want caching, super important now for agentic workflows. But this is just like, seems like a very, very sloppy work. So yeah, I mean, we can read this more, but it kind of gives you a feel how far away these models are from doing like real tasks. We know the like benchmarks for like GDP eval, and these are like quite well specified tasks, so it maybe will do better on them. But if I was given this task to an analyst that came back with this, like I'll be very disappointed. Just to give you a feel for like others as well. So this is Opus 4.8. I mean, it's not like, I mean, we should probably read this a bit more, but it doesn't strike me as like, I know, so much more impressive, right? This doesn't have like a lot of charts and analysis and so on. Maybe it's like slightly better categorization. Maybe it's like mentioned a few other models, didn't do like this kind of stupid Opus 4. What was it? GPT 5.4 Pro randomly. GLM here, I will just quickly whiz through this, or at least like some benchmarks, open way close, like at least something. Or even like later models. I mean, Opus, I wish it actually said which one it was, but like at least something. Yeah, it's like, I mean, none of them are good, aren't they? Like you wouldn't make a decision based on that. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to put like a difference between them without reading it in more detail, but I would say all of them kind of failed. Whether it's like a very bad fail or not, it's kind of hard to say. GPT 5.5x high here, and again, maybe at least like pulled some later models, so there's like at least some win there, but again, doesn't strike me as like super, like, again, at least some, put me some pictures here. Like there's so many nice things you can do about pricing, about benchmark performance, things like that. None of them do that. And even Fable here is like, I think, I can't remember if Fable, there was 4.7. I think there was 4.8 already. Yeah, that's fair enough. So at least like it pulled in more correct models here. Like feels slightly nicer structured to me, like it had certain like coherent sections that it's pulling through, but again, like doesn't strike me as like materially better. So I would say like still some way to go for these kinds of tasks. So this was kind of a proxy for white collar work. I do like this test just because it gives us this kind of quick feel for like, can they do like pretty basic things? And I'll say for now, no. This is another kind of, in a different kind of category, but I wanted to show, to go away, do some research, find me some data sets and show me in kind of educational, engaging way. So let's see what it has done. Oh no, that's not working. Okay, well, maybe there was like some little bug, so let's not hold it against it. But like, again, I don't know, maybe I'm missing some visualizations here, feels like it. So maybe let's not hold it against it. Yeah, I think 4.8 didn't do too well either, but let's try another one. You know what, this one actually, I thought it did pretty good job here. So I'm gonna try and find something where it did well. So in here, what the question was is, I want to create an interactive experience for kids to learn about Pompeii. And what I like what they did here, which you can do on the Agent Arena, is that they actually generated some assets so we can listen to the MP3. So it's nice thinking. Like, this was not in the prompt, but it generated it here. So let's see.
Welcome, time traveler. 2,000 years ago, a busy Roman city called Pompeii. This is the forum,
nice.
the heart of Pompeii. This grand home is called a domus.
Okay, to be fair, few like UI issues here, but the fact that it's
Welcome to the amphitheater.
Put it together in this kind of reasonable way, and there are many kind of basic things that are missing, but this is not bad. Like, this is not to say that this is like a bad model or something, right? Because if we compare it, for example, like GLM here didn't do the generation, which it could have done of the voice. We kind of did the text here. I would say in terms of the kind of the UI generation, I know it looks a little bit more washed out, but I think this is a bit better. But we do know that GLM wasn't that great on 3D, so maybe that's also kind of confirming just what we saw before as well. Yeah, and even Fable, like here, I thought it kind of did more kind of immersing game style almost. So it's kind of cool. Like, yeah, that is actually quite a lot more engaging. So yeah, maybe actually Fable like won here by far, but you know, I guess that's what you'd expect. So I think that's kind of reasonable here as well. So let's see if there are some others that could be quite interesting. One thing I wanted to show you actually, so we'll see whether this one worked well, but one, oh yeah, this one did work well. Let me just mute it. So in here, ultimately, it did come up with a game, and we saw that the cost of some of the generations seemed to be quite high. So it was, when we saw the chart at the beginning, it looks like it was hitting like decent scores on the benchmarks, but it was costing like more than Fable, which is like Fable is like pretty expensive model. So like, what's going on there? And I don't know for sure, but there were definitely a few examples that I've seen where it just kept generating these kinds of lots of validations. So I saw where it was creating, I don't know if I'm going to find one now, but where it was just generating so many kind of validation files, or like in here, for example. So this was like a just a presentation that it needed to do. And I've asked it, the only kind of follow-up prompt I did is, can you just put it in PDF so it's easier for us to see? So I know it's like Excel and PDF, so not kind of looking at the detail here now, but like that's what it looks like. But then you see it's like created this print files and like build Excel, I guess that's reasonable, but like it had so many files here. Look at this, like for the amount, like it kind of generated a bunch of PNGs and so on and preview. Like, this is kind of crazy. So the amount of tokens this would have cost me to do something like this just feels completely unreasonable. Like, it should have been really spending these tokens on doing the research and doing a better job on this. But it seems to have spent a lot of tokens on doing like side work. And I wonder if that's what's happening here as well. And I haven't seen this from other models. So so this is Opus 4.8, like it seems to have just like created charts, like seems like much more reasonable. GLM here as well, which I know some people said that it was generating a lot of tokens. We didn't see that from our data, to be honest. So seems like quite reasonable on this task, what it created. same 5.5x high, like Fable, like everyone's like reasonable, some kind of generations. But in here, like Sonnet just gone like completely crazy in terms of the number of files it generated. So that's kind of, I wonder as well if Anthropic's kind of going down that direction of like really pushing the reasoning, but maybe at this point in time, at least maybe for these kind of second tier models that it has, or maybe third tier now, maybe the reasoning quality is like not quite as good yet. So it's like really pushing this kind of validation loops. And I would say validation loops, they're good in a way that you want the models to like check their work, but they're bad for two reasons. One is like cost is very high for these, but the second is just wall clock time is actually really high as well, because it's one thing to just like consume tokens, and tokens per second could be higher, blah blah blah. So that's like one dimension. The second dimension is that some tests, if you're building something, they could literally run for minutes if you haven't like optimized them. So your actual time to completion really slows down if models are very keen to kind of do that validation. Quite often, like if you're speaking to the agent and it's just doing something for ages, and you just say, just like get it done, I don't care about validation, it can do it like for 10 times quicker. So that, in my experience, that happens quite a lot. So what have we learned? Like coming back to the whole release, like it didn't particularly impress me. Like there wasn't anything here that we saw that was like, oh, this is so much better. There were like a few examples that is like, yeah, I guess that's fine. It's probably better than Sonnet 4.6, but like not sure like who particularly cares about that comparison. It's not better than Opus 4.8. Like, so if you can use Opus, like you can do that. But I guess it's not that much worse than Opus. So if you can't afford Opus, I guess you can do that. That's probably reasonable. But then we compared it to like 5.5, it's clearly worse than 5.5. Even with JLM, like it's not obviously that much better than JLM, which is interesting. Like this is kind of weird time, right? Before, if you remember, Sonnet 3.5, 4, 4.5, whatever it was so far ahead in your open source competition. So the fact that it's so close now is very interesting. So I guess it's kind of an okay release. I'm not like super pumped about it, but I guess it's good. Even if we are not that excited about each individual release, altogether it's nice to see the field progress and that all of our models at different price tiers can keep going forward. So the main thing that I always suggest that you do is that do try these things out for yourself. Check out our leaderboard to see where it lands, and keep trying it on the agent mode.